This is a continued discussion from the previous episode of Nose to Tail, a podcast where we explore the world of aviation lifecycle solutions, insights, and more. Presented by Jet Midwest.
I'm curious, it takes a big facility to deploy a slide for testing. How many slides have you guys done? What do you do per year? Maybe that's a better question. What do you think you're going to do in 2023?
Oh gosh, I probably should have done my homework. But it is. I'll tell you this: it's in the hundreds. If it's not, it's got to be hundreds. So post COVID, when all the aircraft were recommissioned and back to flying, we saw a huge amount of influx of units coming in our door. At our facility, across the board, we see roughly 300 to 500 units a day at our facility.
Wow.
So that's a mix of slides, rafts, fire extinguishers, oxygen bottles, pilot masks, across the board. That number has grown significantly. It continues to grow. Thankfully, we have a second facility in Houston, north of Houston, and that allows us to, it's primarily a survival shop. We're expanding into fire suppression and oxygen there to where we can do the hydrostatic testing of these pressurized cylinders. And that does relieve some of the production issues that we might have through our Valencia facility. So having that a second facility has been a blessing.
So for those who don't know, who are listening, slides have a frequency of usually 1 or 3 years for overhaul.
That's correct.
And then they also do have, some of them have a life themselves.
They do. The inflatable itself of a slide or raft typically have a life limit. The hardware, the regulators, the O2 bottles, the pressurized cylinders that are in those, they also have a life limit. Regulators can be overhauled. So you're replacing cylinders, you're replacing inflatables.
So one of the things I heard you say when you were talking about COVID, right? So during COVID, I'm assuming like most of us in the marketplace, because aircraft were on the ground, you weren't getting the work in.
That's right.
But the calendar on those limits moved. That bubble of 2 years of work just simply moved forward. And it sounds like you're starting to capture that. Do you guys have projections on how long that bubble is going to be in your system? Or
I think we're over the hump. Initially, we saw, I would say, let's just start with a fire bottle. Typically, you have a 5-year cycle requirement of a hydrostatic test. If those are sitting for 2 years, the clock doesn't stop because the aircraft's sitting there. So several of those probably expired while they were parked. So when they recommission, all of a sudden, instead of getting 1 or 2 on a weekly basis, you're seeing 30 because they need to get them all back into service. So that was something we had to deal with, and it was during a time with some staffing issues and supply chain issues. So it was a struggle, but we got through it. Our team's pretty strong, and we've got a lot of great technicians, long-time technicians, a lot of knowledge there how to handle things. So we got through that pretty good.
That's another good topic that we can segue to, which is manpower. And you have very specific expertise, obviously, that's required to handle the equipment that you're handling. How is your company approaching the marketplace, or what are you seeing in the marketplace in terms of being able to bring people in? What method? I've talked to some people that have mentorship programs, some internships. Some say, hey, university maybe is the way to go. From HRD's perspective, how are you guys helping kind of funnel that next generation into your shops?
Sure. I'd say back in, just go back 2 years when hiring began again. We got through some small amount of layoffs during that the rough time, but then once we bring in the hiring process back and bringing people back in, I got to believe we had some referrals going on. We were, our past employees referred to other employees, come on and apply. We have looked into recruiting groups out of California, that's our facilities in California. So there's some recruitment going on there. We've had, some in-house hiring. I don't know what you call it, gatherings or whatever. But I would say that most of the time the employees are applying. They would take jobs and then we would lose some. There's a lot of volatility there.
Are those non-aviation folks coming in to break into the marketplace?
Some, yeah, there are some that get trained in-house. Some have their A&P license, some don't, and we would, depending on where the application is, train them in-house. It's across the board, and I would say in the last year we've began to stabilize. We've got majority of the employees back in place, and it's just more about retention right now. I think that's one of the biggest issues that our management has to deal with is the constant worry about retention. You spend a lot of time training, getting through the process, and then maybe they change and find another job. There's a lot of options, but we've gotten through that. Seems pretty stable from my perspective.
That's good. Yeah. I certainly would say that it's tough. It has been tough to acquire aviation talents. We've spent a lot of time sort of grooming non-aviation folks and kind of get them energized about what the business is. And we obviously do a large variety of things. But you're correct. It's tough to keep them. And every generation that maybe has different desires different things. So it's interesting as an owner to make sure that we're constantly having a dialogue about how to keep those folks.
Sure.
And keep them happy.
Yeah.
Focused on what they're doing.
For sure.
Oftentimes challenging.
Yeah.
I've asked a lot of my folks on the podcast about what their favorite aircraft is.
Oh.
Everybody typically has something that, for different reasons, of what aircraft type that they love or have some sort of passion for, whether it's misguided or not. I just want to get maybe your flavor, hit you here on the open question about what's your favorite airplane type?
If you go back to Northwest, they used to fly the Avrojet, the little 4-engine, kind of a beast. For me, it was a visual thing back in the day. And then just that aircraft, that style, the way it looked, that was a pretty cool aircraft. I know it was expensive to run, heavy, and, gas guzzler, all that. But it was a fun one to look at, and never flew one, but I enjoyed it, looking at it. But I'd say today, as far as, I guess across the board, it'd probably be a Black Hawk helicopter, something fun like that. Again, we support the helicopter market too. A lot of floats. We do, inflatables for those. Interesting question. But I would say on the jet side, probably like the older Falcon 50, Falcon 900, something like that. Those are cool.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've given it. I love the fact you deviated off into the helicopter side, which I completely didn't realize you guys were working on those. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
so we support a lot of the oiler rigs down along the coast there in New Orleans, Lafayette, petroleum helicopters, ERA. Do a lot of float work out of our facility in Texas.
That's pretty neat. So has that been a long-term part of your business, or is that something fairly new?
Been doing it for quite a while. And, again, it's all about that privately. We just want to grow. So we want to grow laterally, other product lines, and it just fits. So, having that ability to do the floats, inflatables, it's just a match.
Is there a future product line you could share with us? Is there something out there that's coming that we should maybe let the world know about?
I'd say other than our continuing development of additional PMAs to kind of support our facilities and offer solutions to our airline customers across the board. As far as new exciting product line, just nothing that I could mention. So. All
right, we'll have to twist your arm later. We have to get a couple cold beers in you.
Oh yeah. In
the lips.
Well, again, I think it comes down to listening to our customers, finding out what their needs are. If it fits what we can do within our capabilities, we're open to listening to just about everything out there. But it's obviously got to make a bit right to business decision to do that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there any stuff that you'd like to talk about, maybe that we haven't covered yet?
I think as far as, from my perspective and the company that HRD has been and become is, going back to your original question is, why do I like doing it? Why this product type as opposed to, say, wheeler brakes, engineering, avionics? Why this niche? It's a neat niche because it's safety related. And what we do very well. And we take great pride, and every time I go to our facility and I see the work ethic and the pride that our guys put into the work and our response time and how important it is that this stuff works when you go to use it is very key. So that's one of our pride issues is it's going to work when you need to, and hopefully you never need it or ever need to see it. But if you do, it's going to work, and that's where I really take great pride in that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that really is good, and that permeates from the top throughout the organization.
It sure does.
You can definitely you can definitely count on that. Everybody who's here at MRO and all these different companies, you can see those people that really have pride and really bring it from a management standpoint that matriculates through the organization.
That's right.
So it should be something to be proud of.
Yeah.
It's been a cool journey.
Yes, it has.
Well, Gene, thank you for being here. This was a fantastic dialogue. I love hearing the stories. I know all the people that are going to listen to the podcast should get something great out of it. And, I appreciate the partnership that we've developed with HRD and collaboration both ways to help us serve our customers, which in turn serves the marketplace. So we do appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you in Chicago next year.
Oh, definitely.
And we can make this a repeat event and get some updates from the last 12 months.
I sincerely appreciate the invite to be a part of this today. It's one of my first podcasts, and I enjoyed it. And again, just to mirror what you said, I really appreciate our partnership and supporting you.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Nose to Tail is the perfect podcast to learn and connect. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Presented by Jet Midwest.